Welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson, a podcast by dealers for dealers. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Independent Dealer Podcast. Special guest, friend of the podcast, Mr. Dan Reel, is back here to join us. We like to refer to Dan as like the Kramer to our Seinfeld. He is kind of that wacky neighbor that does crazy stuff, but man, we love watching and checking in with his journey and seeing what's going on. So, Dan, how you been?
I'm doing great, and I only do these because of your amazing intros, by the way, Jeff. Thank you.
Those are, Luke makes me cut out half of them, so hopefully that one will stay in there.
So Dan, last time we talked, I think it was about 2 years ago, and you were in the process of opening up your new store. So I think you got it open almost a year later, and I think you just had your year anniversary. How's it going?
It's going great. No complaints. We are celebrating. We just celebrated 1 year last month, so we're on month number 13 now. It exceeded our expectations, which was amazing. We kind of went into this with low expectations because of the pandemic and new location, election year. I mean, so many things were kind of working against us. But it turned out to be a great experience for a great first year, and we're looking forward to going ahead.
And that was episode 54. For anyone that wants to go back and reference this to get some context to the conversation, it's episode 54. But Dan, maybe you can give us just a real quick summary for people that haven't listened to that episode 54 yet. Your second location is about
30 minutes from the original store. 30 minutes from the original store. It's in my hometown where I live. So it's a good proximity where they're not cannibalizing each other. There's no really the consumer in this market is not the consumer in the other market, and they're not really affecting each other in any way whatsoever. We'll occasionally have somebody that's looking for a particular vehicle at one location that we don't have, and they don't know about the other store, and I'll have it brought out to the new location, set up an appointment. So that is kind of nice to be able to have a larger inventory to pull from as well. But
and it's physically closer to your home, right? Physically closer.
Super close. Yeah, okay. I could slingshot a rock there pretty much.
Okay. So that's always an interesting take I have on opening up a second store. And I've gotten on Jeff about it. I think I talked to you about it, Dan. But the cannibalization, how do you prevent that? Is it a different inventory? Is it, what is it? What's the key to not taking sales from one location?
So it is absolutely a different inventory between the two locations, where our ACV is probably about 10 grand less at the original store. The reason for that is the new location is it's a much higher credit, much higher income. We've seen more check writers in this area than we've ever seen at the other place in 5 years of business in the first year here. It's a completely different market. I mean, absolutely 100% different market. I could sell $35,000 trucks here easily in Orwell at the original location. It's tough to sell a $24,000 truck. I mean, you could still sell it, but it's going to sit there for 45, 60 days. We're here, it's going to sell in a week. So different animal.
That's interesting. Every time I would think about doing that, I would open up a new store. And honestly, I think 30 to 45 minutes makes a lot of sense because it's easy to handle. But the one thing that always comes up, so what different model could I use there? So I assume you got all the details of medium income. I don't know if you can get median credit score for your area. Is that how you looked at what you wanted to carry at the new store?
Absolutely. So yeah, we did a bunch of demographic studies prior to opening the place, and in partnership with our bank, they share information with us as well. But the average incomes in this area is about $100,000 more per household than my other store. The average credit score is about 120 points higher than my original store. So the original store is doing a significant amount of subprime, near prime. This place is doing a ton of near and prime. So it all works together though. The original store it's got buyers in the market to buy the nice stuff. It just doesn't have a whole bunch of them. So it's kind of they've really worked in conjunction well. Putting the two, people from that area that want the nicer car, we can get them a nicer car. So
sure. Do you have separate websites, one website, or how's that working?
Actually, we have two. We have two at the moment. We have our original site that we had for the last probably 18 years through the auto search guys, reelsauto.com, and the new one's reelsautogroup.com, through Carbase. I'm not plugging either company, but I'm not. We might go to one site, but when I initially opened, I had talked to a couple Google pros, and they said it's better to have two sites because of the distance of the stores to make sure you have the most reach. You know, the Orwell website would not have the geographic reach in 30 miles away because of the population and the distance and everything else, and it just made more sense. I'm not sure going forward if we'll have one or two.
Yeah, I think I would think one site, just thinking about this, one site would allow you to build the site bigger, so you'd have more pages, which would get more Google, and then you could sell inventory pretty easily between the two, I would think, and then you have one less monthly one less monthly bill. I just find that interesting.
We own the one site outright, so it's not really costing us anything but a hosting fee. Mm-hmm. The original site, the new site does cost me a monthly fee, but both sites allow me to have location. You put a location code on each vehicle. So that's a work in progress, though.
Do you use the same DMS between the two? Are they hooked together, integrated together?
Yeah, we use the same DMS, which is Fraser. We use DealerTrack to submit all the deals to the bank, and we use one DealerTrack. However, DealerTrack gives you a drop down, so you could choose which location you're submitting the loan from to when you're sending it to the banks, which is beautiful. So that's all pretty seamless. That the whole process of selling the car, because everything's cloud-based for us, so no matter wherever you're at, you could sit in a computer and jump in any dealership at any time.
Do you have do all your deals get desked in one place? Is your underwriting in one of the stores, or does each store have its own underwriting, its own titling, its own paperwork? You're transferring deal jackets back and forth as you transfer cars?
So every store submits their own deals. Every store audits their own deal jackets, sends in the deals. Each store has their own title, because in Ohio, we have two separate dealer numbers, UD numbers, dealer code numbers. It's really actually an easy process. The only time we ever get hiccups is when we move a car from location to location. Somebody forgets the deal jacket or forgets to go into the DMS and actually change the location code on the vehicle. Right. Because then if you print that paperwork up, it's going to have the original store's location, which is going to be then a headache. So
tax wise and everything else, and following paperwork.
Yeah.
So you're talking about headaches. So what's the biggest headaches that you've been?
Biggest headache so far, staffing. By far, staffing's been the biggest headache. We were lucky enough that we've been in business for a long time, and we got a good team at the Orwell location, staffing a new location when unemployment benefits are so crazy high right now. But we've been lucky there. The second biggest headache would be reconditioning time. We talked about this on the first podcast. You asked me, how are you gonna recondition cars for two locations? Well, that's been my biggest hurdle. So what I've done in the last 3 months to be proactive is I built another service building, which got completed actually this week. And we're going to go from having 6 bays to having 16 bays within the next 30 days.
Wow.
So then you run back into staffing again, because now
we have some of exactly, and that'll be another staffing issue. But luckily, we have some of those folks lined up already. We have the equipment already in line. It's going to be some speed bumps for the next 3 to 6 months for sure. But if I'm anything, I'm a planner. I'm a little bit too conservative when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I'm detail oriented in that area only in life. Everything else in life, I'm a cluster. But the whole business, like I said, it's kind of a baby to me. I have to make sure every little section is just running just right. It goes back to that. I always think back to an old friend, Joe Lascota, and I think about the Certified Master Dealer course when he told me, like, your dealership has faucets running everywhere. It's your job to make sure you go around and shut off the faucets because they're just wasting money. Make sure you're efficient. I always look back at that and I always say, man, how do I make this more efficient? How do I make this process easier? So we're always trying to tweak things to make it better, not reinvent the wheel, just tweak it. And I can't be happier with this process that we've went through here. I mean, it's it's had its headaches, but I've never lost sleep over anything. I don't know. It's been great.
So let's talk real numbers. So you went from how many employees to how many now?
12 to 16. Not 12 a lot. To 16.
So not a lot. And that's, luckily you're not in the buy here, pay here business, because if you did that, you'd probably have to double the amount of employees.
Yeah.
So you went from how many cars you had.
And then we're going to go 16. We're going to go 16 to about 30 though. So
yeah. So, and that's what I figured somewhere in there, you would have to jump. What, from cars sitting on each lot, what did that go from?
So unfortunately, with this shortage of vehicles that we're all experiencing right now, we are low on inventory overall. We went from having about 70 something at one store to having about 110 to 120 total between the two. So we are low. I do keep the new location a little bit leaner than the original store, just because we've been there for 20 years. People go there. It's just, I don't know. It's in my head that it's going to sell more cars regularly. Once I ramp up staff at the new location, I'll ramp up the inventory too. Plus, hopefully, it becomes more readily available by say 22. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And how many cars sold a month from? Was it
so our goal is about 100, but we're coming up a little bit shy of that every month right now. I would say, one store might do 40, one might do 30, one might do 30, one might do 40. So we're hitting that 60, 70 number usually.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because we all have friends in the business that have one little spot selling 150, Yeah. And I go, how the heck are you doing that? But both of our locations are somewhat rural, it's a different animal, but I'm not complaining. I don't care about selling more cars. I care about selling, making maximize every deal for us and the customer at the same time, so.
What?
Yeah, it's super true. And when you say your issues are things like staffing and reconditioning, time to line, stuff like that, you almost have to discount those right now, because even people with single stores that have been at it for 50 years in one location are having those same problems.
Yeah.
So it's a little unfair to be like, I can't find anyone to work. And like, well, no one can find anyone to work. I can't find good mechanics. Well, no one can find good mechanics. Like, we're all struggling with those same issues. So your second location came at a timing where it might seem like that's causing you problems, but I mean, I don't have enough cars on the front line. Well, that's everybody has that problem. It wasn't your second location that did it to you. So I find that super interesting. And you did buy your second location, right? That was also a real estate play.
We own it. Yeah, we own it. So that's actually huge. And when I first bought it, there's a five bay and an office service center behind us, and that's going to come into play for us here in the next couple of months, because that guy, his lease is up, so that's coming up. We are about 70% done building out our BDC office here at the new location. That'll help with all the leads, because many of us dealers have the same problem. Our salespeople, our staff, they always pick the low hanging fruit, but the tree's full. So I'm gonna put together a BDC, a small BDC, 3 people, nothing crazy, and just have them work every single lead that comes in.
Dan, how many leads are you getting a month?
A couple hundred at least per store.
Per store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep harking back on that. There's so many dealers out there that want to spend more money in marketing, and I think that's the wrong way to go. I think everybody's probably getting enough leads, but aren't handling them.
Exactly. Properly. Yeah. I don't want to spend any money on marketing. I don't want to spend any on, because it would be blowing it. You might pull out, you could spend $5,000 in marketing, $10,000 in marketing additional to what you're doing, and you might pull that one gross deal that's like, wow, that did it for me. But man, if you just maximized every single lead, I don't care if you're making, you got 50 leads that are $1,000 a copy leads that you're capitalizing on versus that one that you hit a home run on. It's like, I want to cultivate what we have,
Yeah. And all the cars you've sold over the last, however many years y'all been in business, you got all those people that you can pull.
We have a funnel. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting that our take, and I think ours is pretty similar on that we're just missing so many good leads that we already have.
Exactly.
In Ohio, in your region, if you have 2 lots, what do you think you're spending a month on marketing with both locations?
Not enough. Most people would say we're probably I would say we're about $5,000 total.
Okay.
Yeah, that's with third-party sites, everything. It's really, really low. But like we're going back. I want to go back really quick. So I'm lucky enough to have Nicole on board, and she's a spreadsheet genius, right? So what she does is every week she gives the sales team leads of people that are coming up due on their contracts. She's giving them leads of people that came into the store that didn't buy a car. So these people, the salespeople, are getting lists of between 20 and 80 contacts per salesperson, and they're calling every one of them and setting appointments. They might get a closing ratio of like 7-8%, which of an appointment out of the whole list, but it's still something, and it's still putting our name in their ear. So
that's awesome that you have time, or Nicole has time to do that and is doing it. I wish I had time to do that every week, because I know we're missing people going to new car stores every day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's true. So what have you found as far as like, as you move from being an operator, running one store, 10 employees, you still probably have your hands, you're kind of in the kitchen cooking every so often, so to speak. Yeah. As you go to 2 stores, has it been hard to transition from actually being the guy that can put his hands on things to just being the guy that has to make sure everyone else has their hands on things? You go from being kind of an operator to just like a coordinator of people, and you're basically an HR specialist now, right?
Yeah. I went from being an operator that would buy the cars. I change a tire if I had to. I do everything, right? And now I have to make sure the people are doing that. So I'm more of a business manager. I'm looking at the paper side of the business versus actually getting my hands dirty. I mean, I'm not talking literally getting my hands dirty all the time, but man, I was involved in everything. I was involved in, customers would come to me for like the best deal, or they wanted their big service bill. Hey, can you give me a discount? Like, there's so many things that I'm not involved in. I get a little bit depressed about it sometimes, like I feel like I'm missing something. Like
like you're not doing anything. Yeah.
Like I raised it up. Not that I'm not doing anything, but I raised it up. I did all this stuff, and now I'm kind of like, I sit in this new office, and I'm just like watching everything from the damn computer, or I'm on the road buying cars,
Yeah. It's kind of nice to have certain things you don't have to deal with, though. You scaled to the point where you can put people between you and hot cases, or you and, problems or things like that. So
funny enough, our service department at the original store is making more money with me not there. And I asked my service manager, why is that? He goes, well, if you stay away, you're not giving stuff away all the time. I said, that makes sense,
Yeah, I think all of us are guilty of that at times.
Yeah, my wife, we've had a couple complaints, like people are like, oh, it's not the same without you, blah, blah, blah. A couple, not many.
Yeah.
And but my wife, she told me, she goes, those people that are complaining are the ones that always wanted stuff for free anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and that's really hard not to get yourself sucked back in when you start to take those step backs and you start to delegate the tasks, and then all of a sudden you get a bad Google review, or you catch wind of some situation that just wasn't handled the way you would have handled it. It's hard to not insert yourself back into those situations and try to take over like you think the place is burning down. But unfortunately, when you get to that scale, you have to accept that there's a certain amount of fires that are just going to burn, and you just have to let them burn. They're not going to take you down. They're going to burn themselves out eventually, but because you can't put them all out now.
I know the first few months that we were operating 2 stores, I felt that way. I was like, oh man, this is going on here. This is going on here. I got to do this, and I was running ragged. But at some point I finally said, you know what, that'll solve itself, or so and so will handle that situation, And it took me a little bit of time to realize, like, okay, I got people that are going to handle it. But overall, I don't have any major concerns. I'm looking for a 3rd location now. No, I'm just kidding.
But seriously, Dan, I want to ask you that question. Do you feel like once you scale and you put the policies and procedures and the people in place for 2 locations, what's the difference between 3, 4, and 5?
Absolutely nothing. And it's funny that you asked that, because I've made this so cookie cutter. I mean, so cookie cutter. There's, besides the inventory being different, the entire process of buying a car, how the customer's experience is, how everything happens, it's 100% cookie cutter, right? So you can scale this again and again and again. I just think the personnel and the capitalization would be the only thing holding me back. Because I mean, this location, this new location, it was $1 million investment just out of the gate. Like, I don't think people understand, like, I'm going to open a new location. I'm going to find a little gas station and put some cars out there. You could do that, but it's what you want your second location to be. And I didn't want my second location to be anything less than my original. I wanted people to have that same 100% experience. And I'm talking you, color schemes are the same, uniforms are the same, everything's the same, you know, and that costs money to do that.
Yeah, it does. I'll tell you, Eric and Marshall at Freeman, they did the same thing in Portland. Everything looks exactly the same.
It has to be.
And I totally agree. Jeff, have you done that to a point yet, or are you still trying to wade your feet into that?
Yeah, very similar. Same color scheme. You know, we changed everything to the same color. We didn't do a drastic because I don't own the building yet. So, but yeah, I mean, with Dan's situation, if you're putting $1 million, you know, a ground up remodel, absolutely. You know, you've got to. I don't think you just want to go slap a banner on some random store and then have a mismatched message and feel and vibe. But you're saying, Dan, you've gotten to that point with this location, you could add a third and a fourth under the same blueprint, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would be very comfortable with it. Like I said, minus those two things that kind of scare me, the people. Capital is a concern. I mean, I'm not undercapitalized right now. I'm perfectly capitalized. But if you add more things, then who knows how you could out leverage yourself pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's scary. Like, I don't ever plan to have a second location. Yeah, being in a buy here, pay here business, it's all about capital. And I think I could outrun my cash really quickly.
Yeah, you can.
A little different than what you've got going on with, you know, because money comes back in, but still there's cash flow that you have to deal with.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it double the amount of cash you need, Dan, or where is it? What's that number?
I thought it would be double the amount of cash. It is in regards to inventory, but it's not double on everything. Not yet. It will be once it's completely staffed up. It will be. The new location has not looked to the old location for a penny. Right? It hasn't had its hand out one time. It's very, very self-sufficient. It's been extremely profitable, and it's holding its own. So that's what I worried about initially. Like, oh man, am I gonna have to, you know, steal resources and money from the other location? And it hasn't been the case. If anything, it's very, very I don't want to say lucrative, but it kind of is. You know, it's doing its job. So
well, good. I mean, that's really good to hear. That would scare the bejesus out of me.
Yeah,
you're flooring more cars, and those cars are more expensive, so you're getting hit twice. You know, you got twice as much concrete to fill up. And
actually, we're lucky in that situation. We're flooring the same amount of cars, if not less, because we're making more money, so we're buying more of our own cars. You know, I mean, it's been a beauty of it. You know, we've ran campaigns actually to buy cars off the street. And we bought a lot of cars off the street in the last few months and just wrote checks. You know, we didn't go to the floor plan companies. So we own a larger percent of our inventory than we ever have. So
that's great. I hate floor plan companies. So and not that I don't want them.
Don't say that, man. It might be a sponsor someday.
Yeah, I say not that I don't want them to sponsor the podcast, but I just the amount of money that goes out the door, I think, is better served to figure it out a different way. But I mean, it has to happen. I mean, even the richest dealers, new car stores, floor their cars. So it's just
they do.
It's the nature of our business.
Well, there's a certain level of comfort when you go to the auction and you buy 20 cars and you walk up to the lady and say, "Put those on so and so, right? Put that on that floor plan." And you walk out the door, you get in your car, you listen to music, and you go home. There's a certain ease of business to do that. You know. It
is, Dan. What is? We all know what prices have done lately. I just look back at what I was paying for cars last year, and even 2019. I think 2019 is probably a better year to compare to what they were bringing yesterday. It's unprecedented, is what I would call it. And I don't know if you're getting the same thing in Ohio, but I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about sourcing cars off the street, which is great. I don't think you can buy enough off the street. How are you buying cars right now?
Auction and off the street. Auction makes up probably a good 80% of our purchases, unfortunately, because that's where they're at, right? But the ones off the street have been phenomenal. We're picking up some really unique units that you wouldn't find at the auction. People they might be over a hair on their miles on their lease, or they might just have a third car at home. And we've picked up some really oddball stuff that has been fantastic, just amazing stuff off the new location. Primarily the old location, it's we don't buy as many out there. The new location, there's 9 times the traffic count, so a lot more people see the signs, they stop in, they sell us the car.
And you have one person responsible for that, Dan, or is that you buying?
That's just me. Just me.
Cool.
Yeah, sometimes if I'm not here, they get the contact information, they get to bin the miles, take some pictures, and I'll even text the person a quote, like, I'll pay you this much for your car, bring the title. And so that's happened numerous times.
Do you find that
sometimes Carvana eats my lunch?
Yeah.
I offered a guy more than clean trade yesterday, and Carvana gave him $3,000 over that. I was like, what the heck? And it's crazy, but
yeah. But you got to do what's right for you. Yeah, I totally understand.
Well, it's right for us and the customer. You can't overpay for it and then, transfer that onto the consumer, so. And I don't have a bunch of stock shareholders that are willing to take a loss either. So
yeah, that's true. Do you find that's hard though? The biggest issue I've had with trying to buy from the public is it's time consuming, man. It takes a lot of time. You're like a half hour to buy one car. Dealing with them, bringing the title, writing a check, getting the car back, helping the customer get home, coordinating. It's like,
I'm okay with it.
Have you simplified it?
So we do have these this folder. It's called a purchase pack, and inside of it, it's got the odometer statement, the bill of sale. It's all pre-written. You put everything in there, copy the check, title, it all goes in there. That makes it a little bit faster because we have those on hand. But if I spend 30 minutes with a customer to buy their car versus buying it in a lane, I'm just buying a better car.
I should say you're probably making more money on it as well. Yeah.
Without question. You talk the gross difference on those vehicles is double. So that 30 minutes to me is worth every single second. Plus you're building a relationship that's going to last for potentially years.
That's true. Yeah. How many times have I bought a car off the street and then started servicing the people's car, detailing it, and then next thing you know, they want to buy another car, they call me. So totally agree. Whenever you can do that, it just really is key.
I'll spend an hour with them if I have to. I'll make them lunch.
That's funny. Dan, how long do you see this lasting with the inventory spike? Everybody has their opinion. I just want to know what you think.
My opinion is first quarter 22. I really think that. I talked to a lot of new car dealers, and the funny thing with new car dealers is we're going to see an exit of a lot of single rooftops. By the end of the year, we'll see a lot of exits. I think a lot of your small mom and pop Chevy, Ford, Dodge store, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep stores, those guys are going to probably fold up because they're not getting allocated the inventory. The inventory is getting allocated to the guy selling 500 new units, not the guy selling 30, 40, 50 units. So those guys, I drive by their locations and I see 20, 30 new vehicles out there. And those fellas or ladies, they don't know the used car market like the independent dealer. So they're not buying like we're buying. They're not aggressive like we are. Like we have to have cars. They're like, oh, we'll get them when we get them in, when the factory ships them to us. Unfortunately, that's not going to pan out well in the end. So I think 2022 first quarter, we'll probably start to see some easing, but it's going to last for a while, I think.
Do you see an opportunity with those single store rooftop new cars, even the used cars? We see that a lot in the independent group. Even used car guys that are saying, hey man, this is just not fun anymore. I don't have cars. I don't have anything to sell. I can't feed my family. I need to jump ship and go do something else.
Yep.
And this might sound bad. I don't want to sound like a vulture, but do you see opportunities there? If Dan's really looking for a third location, or,
absolutely.
Are you looking to pick up a, Suzuki franchise or something? Who's
what?
Left out there? Snag up
Mitsubishi franchise. You can get those pretty reasonably. But yes, there's actually 3 people in our group that have jumped ship so far this year that are doing other things.
3 people in our Facebook group, you're saying?
Yeah, and these were pretty decent operators in my opinion.
Wow.
They weren't like 5-car stores. They were 40, 50-car stores, and they just said, I can't do it anymore. So
it is interesting if you don't have something tying you in, like if you don't own the land, if you don't have buy here, pay here, if you don't have something that really has you tied down long term, it's very easy to say, I got no cars to sell, I'm not making money. And the job market is so strong in this other trade that I'm experienced in, whether it be construction or, I don't know, whatever it is. It's very easy to be enticed away and jump ship, which,
Dan,
go ahead.
So you got out of the buy here, pay here business. Do you ever worry about that? Like, I don't have the business you're in, you've got to sell cars to make income or, to have cash flow really. Do you ever get worried about not having that portfolio sitting there?
I used to, and I still do I'll still do 1 or 2 a month just to, get back to my roots. I used to, but I think where that income is taken over for me, it's not as big as an income, but the service drive. That's where I think that's where the future of that income is going to be for us.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the new car stores argue that too, right? Didn't we see that study the other day that said the new car stores are going to be, it's like going to be like 70 or 80% of their profit will be service and
absolutely
direct to consumer, Carvana, Vroom, whoever it is that's actually selling the car, but our physical locations, they might just turn into straight service centers.
Yeah. And that's one of the, one of my goals for the rest of this year is to try to get more companies signed up through our fleet program. So that those guys are typically net 30 guys, but when they're spending money in your shop, they're spending 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a month per company with decent margins. So we went from having a single alignment machine. We're going to have 3 alignment machines. We have multiple AC machines. I mean, we're going to be able to service numerous. We're going to grow that business big. It's either going to just be amazing or it's going to be like, damn, I shouldn't have did that. But I'm willing to take the risk,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we argue is like, hey, when Uber and all these self-driving fleets of cars put car ownership out of business, guess what my car lot is going to be? It's going to be a recon facility for all those self-driving cars. Yeah. Little suckers will show up here and we'll give them a cleaning. We'll put new tires on them and we'll send them back out, So yeah, I think building out your service bay it's smart, future-proof.
I think it's good for the future. I think it's good for my exit strategy, in a decade or 2, whatever we decide. It just makes everything more valuable. So
it does. Having that customer base in your shop, having, good profit to show that's an easier thing to sell, I think, than the car business. Maybe not, but I think it is without a franchise.
Absolutely.
But then you got to staff them. We're going to talk about that next week, actually. So I'll leave you guys hanging on that one. That's tough.
The staffing, it's funny that we talk about like the tech world. If we went just a second, the average kid coming out of vocational school in our market that does oil changes and brakes is basically demanding $20 an hour to start. That's like on a low side. We see these kids are 19 years old. They want $25 an hour plus benefits, and they want to work about 4 days a week. So that's going to be a massive problem for all of us. I mean, massive.
The only way to fix it is more vocational schools, less college, and that's some people don't want to hear that in our government, and that's what needs to happen. I don't know how we fix it, but we got to fix it somehow.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, on that. Jeff. You have it fixed by next week, and then we'll talk about it. Dan, thank you for your time, man. We appreciate you being here. I feel like we should just do this about every 100 episodes or so,
This sounds good.
Get the Dan Real update.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Bye.
So glad you joined us. Please take a minute to leave us a review and share this podcast with a friend. The Independent Dealer Podcast. Dealers helping dealers.